7:01. I think we will start the meeting. Today's April 20th, 2021. The meeting of the Planning and Economic Development Committee held at 7:01 via teleconference. As chairman of the Planning and Economic Development Committee, I find that due to the state of the emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to executive order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which is authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I'm confirming that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. To access this meeting by Zoom, please refer to the agenda or the city's website for the meeting link. To join by phone, the number is 1-929-205-6099, meeting ID 896-2948-3264 with a passcode of 999999. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting through public postings. Instructions have also been provided on the City of Nashville's website, www.nashvillenh.gov, and publicly noticed at City Hall and the Nashville Public Library. If anyone has a problem accessing the meeting via phone or channel 16, please call 603-821-2049 and they will help you connect. In the event that the public is unable to access the meeting via the methods mentioned above, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there's anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Alderman Laws, would you please call the roll and ask folks to state their reasons why they cannot attend or can't attend or attending virtually, and if they can hear the proceedings, please.
Absolutely, Chairman Tenza. Alderman at Large, David Tenza.
I am present. I am by myself and I can hear everyone.
Alderman Jan Schmidt.
I am present. I am at home because of the virus, and I am alone except for this.
Alderman Tom Lopez. Doesn't appear to be here. Alderman at Large Ben Clemens. Also does not appear to be here. And Alderman at Large Brandon Laws, I'm here. I'm at home because City Hall is closed and I'm alone. So we have 3 members present, Chairman.
Thank you. And so we do have a quorum for tonight's meeting. I'll also note that Alderwoman Elizabeth Liu is here in attendance with us as well. So the first item on our agenda is public comment. I notice we have a number of folks who are here. If you could just state your name and your address, and please give us your comments about anything related to the committee and what's on our agenda for the evening.
Mr. Chairman, I'll start. My name is Elizabeth LaRocca. I'm a Durham, New Hampshire resident, but I'm an employee of Eversource Energy, and I'm here with 7 colleagues tonight to talk about the Milliard substation and answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other public comments? Okay, seeing and hearing none, we will move on to the next item on the agenda. Any discussion by members of the committee? Okay, communications, there being no objection, I'll accept the communication and place it on file from Matthew Sullivan, the planning manager, regarding the referral from the Board of Aldermen on proposed R 21-124, approving a 5th amendment to the purchase and sale of the land at 21 Pine Street, map 77, lot 17, in land of Public Service Company of New Hampshire, doing business as Eversource Energy at 3 Pine Street Extension, map 77, lot 2A. Seeing no objections, I'll accept that and place it on file. For the record, that was just a communication from the planning manager regarding the planning board's favorable recommendation of this piece of legislation. There's no unfinished business. Alderman Laws, new business resolutions.
Thank you, Chairman. New business resolutions are 21-124, approving a Fifth Amendment to purchase and sale agreement of land at 21 Pine Street, map 77, lot 17, and land of Public Service Company of New Hampshire, doing business as Eversource Energy at 3 Pine Street Extension, map 77, lot 2A. Chairman, I move to accept and place on file by roll call.
Alderman Laws, I believe it would be a motion for final passage
Oh, sorry.
of the legislation, if you'd like to make that motion.
You know what? I think I'd like to make a motion for final passage of R21-124 by roll call. Thank you. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. The motion is for final passage. I did hear from Director Cummings, who was hoping to be here tonight to talk to us about this resolution. But if the committee members are okay with it, I will, and Ms. LaRocca would like to speak to it on behalf of Eversource. I'm happy to allow her to do so.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Would it be all right if I just introduced to you who's here from the Eversource team? And
Please, and even if you wanted to give a little bit of background what this is about, because I know this is the Fifth Amendment. We have a number of people in the meeting who may not fully understand what this is about.
very good. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a one-pager document that Sarah Hoodlet, who's, let's make sure I get Sarah's project services specialist, and Sarah's put together this one-page document. You might not have seen it, but we also have a PowerPoint presentation that Sarah put together. We can run through it quickly. Don't want to bore anyone, but we were thinking that maybe people weren't as familiar because this project has been in play for at least 4 years. In addition to Sarah Hoodlet on the project, we have, let's see, Walter Quinn. Walter, can you get on video? Walter's our project manager. We've got Dave Still. He's our senior engineer of substations at Eversource. Elizabeth Bradshaw, senior electrical engineer, field engineering. She's overseen the electrical grid in the greater Nashua area for decades. Eric Newman, he's senior counsel. He's been working with Celia on the purchase and sale agreement and probably other things that I don't know about. We've got and a couple of consultants here with us. Jeremy Belanger. Jeremy is a senior project engineer or manager for TF Moran. He's been helping us with the civil engineering aspects to this project. And then finally, we've got Dave Lamoth. Dave Lamoth is a principal from GZA, environmental scientist out of Bedford. And Dave is overseeing the environmental remediation. So we've got, there are 8 of us here. We don't want to take too much of your time, but this is a big deal. We're happy to help the city redevelop this riverfront land. We actually got approached by Donnelly Lozo, Elizabeth Bradshaw and I in 2013. And she asked us if we'd be willing to swap land or move out of the way in the mill yard. We have 2 substations, and we said, that's a really hard thing to do. If you can find us land, maybe. And so anyways, we waited for Mayor Donches to come into office, and we asked him if he had the same desire and interest. Here we are tonight. And so without further talking by me, I'll kick it over to Sarah Hoodlet, Mr. Chairman, and we can fly through the PowerPoint if that would be helpful to folks. It will give you just an overview of what we're talking about here when we talk about the land swap and the purchase and sale agreement and our land and the city's land.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hoodlet, I will, I noticed that you shared the PowerPoint, it looks like.
I shared the one pager. Yes.
Okay,
Yep, that was the one pager that Elizabeth mentioned earlier. That if you don't want to look at the PowerPoint, this is a really good summary. It just shows you kind of where we're talking about, some general project information. But the PowerPoint does give a little bit more information. So if you would like me to, I'm happy to share my screen and they can run through that.
please do. Please feel free to share your screen.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. All right, let me take us one step at a time. All right, can you guys see my screen okay? I'll take silence as a yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so as Elizabeth said, my role on the project is to do project outreach. So I work with property owners and other stakeholders that occasionally want or need updates on the project on a regular basis. So this is just a general, really high level update on the project, kind of where we are. You probably heard about it through conversations with the city, but just wanted to give you a quick update. So as you probably know, the substation that we're talking about is located off of Technology Way, which is sort of between the Nashua River and a handful of business parks in the downtown area. You can see the substation there, it's sort of right in the middle of this, this picture here. So this distribution substation was built in 1954 and originally served to supply power to new businesses and industries moving into Nashua's Mill Yard area. Today, nearly 70 years later, the substation feeds more than 2,000 customers using infrastructure that is now outdated and obsolete. The substation has served the area well, but it has reached the end of its life and needs to be entirely rebuilt. So in summary, the new substation will be built on property adjacent to the existing substation, as you can see in the image on this slide. Eversource has been working with the city, as Elizabeth mentioned, to finalize a land swap with the intent to provide the city with a larger piece of land for future development. In addition to the substation work, environmental remediation efforts are necessary on both parcels. That remediation will take place later this spring and will be performed and paid for by Eversource. Once complete, the new substation will meet current standards and have entirely new infrastructure, including foundations, fencing, transformers, and all the gadgets that come with a new substation. So what are some of the benefits of the project? The idea of a land swap was first discussed, as Elizabeth said, in 2013, with the intent to provide the city with a new, larger parcel of land for future development along the Nashua River. Since then, Eversource has acquired new or additional easements from several adjacent property owners to relocate the lines that both enter and exit the substation location. Additionally, environmental remediation has been identified for both properties, and through discussions with the city, Eversource will cover the cost of that on both parcels. Once the new substation is constructed, the old substation will be deconstructed, land will be restored, and the property will be transferred ownership from Eversource to the city. The new substation will be better able to support residents and businesses in their growing need for reliable power. And of course, the electric system will be made more reliable by the $10 million investments in new equipment, which will provide greater capacity to the city's future economic development goals. So when will this work take place, right? So as I mentioned, we've been working on this project for some time, acquiring new additional easements from abutting property owners, including the city. Over the last 6 months or so, we've been finalizing our scope and engineering while simultaneously performing those real estate activities. We anticipate starting remediation efforts later this spring, with site preparation for the new substation happening shortly thereafter. Construction of the new substation will begin later this year and continue through the first half of 2022. Once that's complete, we would then deconstruct the old substation and restore the site before transferring ownership to the city. Of course, this is subject to weather and any other unforeseen circumstances, and also, of course, ensuring that we have the necessary permits in place to do the work. So just a quick blurb about outreach here. In an effort to keep property owners, businesses, the town updated, we do have a variety of different methods that we use to perform outreach. That can be anything from information letters that are sent to property owners, residents nearby. We'll have field outreach representatives on site during construction to answer any questions and kind of be the point of contact between the public and the project. We'll have a project website, which will be made before construction starts. It will have general construction updates, as well as mapping and other contact information for the public. And of course, we have our project information hotline and email address that anyone can contact at any time for more information. And as I mentioned earlier, my role is project outreach for the project. I can be reached at any time at this email address here. Elizabeth LaRocca, of course, is the city's contact. She's a great resource, so definitely use her. And just for your own information, Walter Quinn, as Elizabeth said, is the project manager. So there's his information there if you would like it, but any public information that is needed, or if anyone from the public has questions for Walter, they can come through me and I can filter those to him or the right person. And then our contact information is at the bottom of the slide in case anyone had any questions. They could call, email, and then the website will eventually be posted on the eversource.com website, and you could filter through to find that website. And that's pretty much it. Do you have any questions for me? I know Elizabeth mentioned that we have a couple other folks on the call as well. So that might be, they might be better answered, those questions, but we're definitely here to answer any questions you might have.
Questions from members of the committee? Alderman Laws?
Thank you, Chairman Tenza. This is more, I don't want to take credit for this question because it's certainly you that brought it to my attention, but there's a proposed public dog park that's supposed to be going in that area. Do you know if they overlap, or is that just a different parcel of land?
That's, I'm not familiar with that. Elizabeth or Jeremy, do you happen to know if there's any overlap?
I'm not familiar, Alderman Laws, with that. We'll have to ask Sarah Marchand about that. Yeah, we know where we've got an easement on Mine Falls Park, but that's the only park that we're aware of that we're near.
All right, well, thank you. I'm fairly confident it's a different parcel of land, but I'm not a cartographer, so, you know, looking at the aerial view, I'm not 100% sure. I had one more question, Chairman, if that's all right.
Please, go ahead.
These, and forgive me for saying so, these installations tend to not be very aesthetically pleasing. Is there a, I'm not trying to insult what you're going to construct. Is there some thought going into making it more acceptable for the neighboring businesses? Is there like going to be a fence at least to block the view from the street? Anything like that?
So I will hand that over to Jeremy for further information, but my understanding is that we will be putting in some vegetative screening. I'm not sure exactly where it is on the site. Jeremy, do you have an idea of that so you can explain that to the Alderman Laws? Or anyone else in the project team for that matter?
Sure, no problem. Good evening, I'm Jeremy Belanger. I'm with TF Moran. I'm a senior project engineer, as Sarah mentioned. We are working on the engineering as well as the surveyors of record on this project. So in regards to the aesthetics for the line, there has been extensive coordination with the property to the north, which is owned by Indian Head Realty. And as part of that, as part of what is being presented to you tonight with the revised easements, has been some revisions to the easements through Indian Head's property. There is some proposed landscaping that's going on. We've worked with them to adjust the pole locations to minimize their views. I believe their concern was from their cafeteria. So over the past almost a year at this point, the team has worked extensively with the abutters to try to make everyone as happy as possible regarding the aesthetics.
I mean, I would just submit for your consideration, if you just put up the most basic of walls, I guarantee you that Positive Street Art would be chomping a bit for the opportunity to put a mural on it or something like that. So,
Well, unfortunately, due to safety concerns and electrical standards, we can't have walls around the substation, but there is an 8-foot fence. There's an 8-foot tall fence with a 1-foot barbed wire on top of it just for safety concerns, and we can't be too close. But noted that any opportunity to work with the city in making this a aesthetically pleasing site, we'll certainly continue that coordination.
no, thank you. I appreciate it.
Further questions, Alderman Laws? Alderman Schmidt?
Well, thank you. I understand that the dog park is actually in the floodplain, and I'm almost positive that the substation will not be placed in the floodplain. Am I correct in that? Yeah.
That is a correct assumption.
That is correct.
In
And-
reviewing notes from, it looks like a meeting in January 21st of last year, Director Cummins did mention a dog park as part of their redevelopment of this piece of property in this general vicinity. So as part of the land swap, what would be obtained or retained by the city is a portion that's substantially higher than the Mine Falls Park down by the river. And while I wasn't at the meeting last year, well, January of 2020, it does look like the coordination would be for the dog park to be somewhere in the vicinity of this, but it does appear to be on the lower portion.
Thanks very much. One more question.
Please go ahead.
Most of the substations that I see, smaller ones anyway, usually have screening of some kind of conifer, some tree, just to give it a little green space in front of it. I'm assuming that would be something that could be done as well, but rather than a wall, because I agree walls aren't conducive. But would you be interested in maintaining the trees in front of it if so would that cause a problem with anything that you're with the space there?
There is the proposed landscaping that was proposed as part of the site plan process and getting the approval through the planning board. As for the maintenance, I'm not sure how that agreement would be written. There's a number of easements that are being placed on the city property for access and utilities. But that's something that we can certainly discuss as we work through finalizing these easements, and if there are plantings in the vicinity, who would be responsible for maintaining those. To answer your question regarding just the applicability of locating landscaping, we are limited based on the required clearance heights from the overhead lines to vegetation that grows underneath it. Eversource has a comprehensive vegetative maintenance
Yes.
protocol that they have to follow in order to make sure that everything is safe. But
Great.
we will certainly, like I said, work with the city to make sure that it is aesthetically pleasing as possible. And as the city progresses and to developing this area and expanding the riverfront, we'll make
Thank
sure
you.
we coordinate through them.
Excellent. It's time to do this, and I think it's a wonderful thing for Eversource and for the city. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, could I mention one thing?
Please.
What we'd like to point out, Alderman Schmidt, Alderman Laws, and the other folks, is that Eversource is going to be footing the bill for all the environmental remediation. And Dave Lamoth, on our lot, it's what, about 130,000, and on the cities, it's maybe 320,000.
Our lot is about 150, and I think we're looking at close to 400 on the city's lot.
So we're hoping that we're limited on what we can do, you know, with the walls, and we know about Positive Street Art. I know the people that started, they're wonderful people, serve with Cecilia at the chamber and whatnot. And, you know, it's hard to maintain the arborvitaes or whatever we put around these substations, Alderman Schmidt, but we did try to beautify the Front Street substation along those lines for folks in it. You know, it was like whoop-de-doo, you know, people, you know, but, you know, we can only do so much. But, and we also have people that are looking over our shoulders called the Public Utilities Commission. We're going to put this asset into rate base and earn on it. And so we're trying to be balanced in our approach. We're doing this to help the city redevelop. If you succeed, we clearly succeed with you. So there's that mutual gain, clearly. But what we have done, I have to say, is rather extraordinary. We've had a couple cable failures. We've had to make temporary emergency repairs. We've had to reconfigure stuff because you have important buildings that are being fed by this. So we just want you to know we're picking up those remediation costs. We hope that makes you feel a little better about, you know, what we're doing, you know, above and beyond building a new piece of equipment. And, you know, to the extent our budget allows and safety allows, we'll certainly consider, you know, doing something to make it look better. And hopefully by moving out of the way, that's a really big move. And we look forward to seeing what the city does with that parcel. So that's, I think, all we've got, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your time and the patience tonight. And please let us know if you have any questions as we move forward.
Sure. And if I could just say, I mean, I think, you know, PSNH has been a great partner with the city, not only on this project, but obviously with the work that's being done around Main Street with the Performing Arts Center. I know that you folks were working with Director Cummings to move the telephone poles and electric poles to make sure that that project goes according to plan. Also, too, if you know, the last time I was down by the riverfront, there's a small substation there on, I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to as the Franklin Street substation. But you know what, it was a real eyesore before, and I'm not even sure I noticed it the last time I was down at the riverfront. So I think, you know, we appreciate the work that you're doing. I actually got a couple of questions from Alderman Jetty, if I may, and they somewhat relate to the last topics that were raised. Just if I could quickly ask, the agreement, the new purchase and sale, the amendment to the purchase and sale, just references mildly contaminated soils, as well as some asbestos shingles, asphalt shingles that contain asbestos, excuse me. Alderman Jetty had asked where exactly these were, why they were on site. Were these just the building materials that were used to construct the substation, and you know what you would expect from the soils there at the site when they're removed?
I think that's
Dave Lamoth. Yeah.
Yeah, the mildly contaminated soils are actually on the city's parcel, and as well as the shingles. There are a few, like a handful of shingles on the Eversource parcel. As part of the remediation, all of the shingles that are on both parcels will be cleaned up, and most of the mildly contaminated soils are just typical urban fill. There's some old mill building foundations out there that are going to be removed as well. But nothing on the city parcel is anything that was due to Eversource. It was predated Eversource. What's going to happen on the Eversource parcel is the shingles will be cleaned up from the site, and then everything inside the fence will be removed. and remediated to background levels.
And Dave, those shingles were blown in, weren't they, the asphalt?
On the city's parcel, there's a number of areas where it appears as though material was dumped historically. So there's a number of mounds out there, and in between those mounds, there's a small, probably pickup size load of shingles that got deposited at one point.
Okay, so this isn't like other parts of the city where asbestos was buried in the ground.
No, there's no indication of buried asbestos or this either site being an asbestos disposal site like you would see in a lot of areas in Nashua or Hudson.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. And so Alderman Jetti's other question was about the dumping costs that are being waived. Can you give us a sense of how much those are from the city's portion of the project? And Ms. LaRocca, if you could just explain, why that was important for Eversource to have those as part of the plan.
Sure. We were asked by the city to do the land swap, and we agreed to do that. And as we got rolling with the negotiations, we learned that the city had not budgeted any money for this project. And so we had to move. As I said to you, we were losing cables, and it was just the substation needed to be replaced. So we went ahead and we paid Dave Lamoth's company to do the environmental remediation studies, and they did our studies on our lot. And then we were calculating the cost to remediate, and we're going to be asked by people like the Public Utilities Commission, gee, you guys are pretty magnanimous, with the city of Nashua, why didn't you look to, do cost sharing or something? And it is the project, we have carrying costs. We got permission to build this thing in 2017 from our senior managers. And so this has been really dragging on, and a lot of the dragging on is because the easements have taken so long. It's very difficult to get easements, and we understand why from the landowners that have been working with us. It's a complicated process, but in any event, we went to the city and we asked them, can you share in the cost to remediate your property by allowing us to deposit, I think we were saying the topsoil or something along that line. I'm going to let Dave Lamoth take it. But we asked the city if they could allow us to take material from their property and put it at the landfill. And we had a meeting with a number of people, including the mayor and public works director, and they just felt that the best they could do was give us, the 50% off, no C and D debris, but on a couple of the other things. Dave Lamoth can clarify, but Walter can tell us where that is. That might not be something that we do. I don't know, Walter or Dave, if you would like to expound on that and just clarify maybe something that I said that isn't necessarily accurate anymore.
Yeah, I can, just for perspective, we have approximately 5,400 tons of urban fill that's going to come from the city parcel. That we need to basically remove that material. It's unsuitable to build on. It's basically mixed brick and debris, and like we talked about, a lot of piles that were dumped out there historically. From the Eversource yard that's there now, we have about 60 to 100 tons of PCB concrete, just where the transformer sat, that's going to be removed. And then there is some soil that needs to be removed due to some past pesticide use, and that's about 1,500 tons. So the bulk of the soil excavation is really coming from the city parcel that we'll be moving to.
Great, thank you for that explanation.
Mhm.
Anything further from anyone from the committee or on the board or members of,
Yes, I had a couple of questions, please. Elizabeth Lou,
yes, Alderwoman Lou, go ahead.
thank you. One of my questions was, I noticed that we're exchanging a half-acre lot for a 1.5 acre lot, and I wondered if that's correct. The lot number 7717 that the utility company is going to end up with, that's not being subdivided in any way, is it? It's going to remain an 1.5 acres.
So the proposed 7717, which is the piece that Eversource will be hanging on to, is just over 1/2 acre. And that consists of the proposed substation. And then lot 77-2A is what the city will keep. And that is about 1.4 acres. And then there's a number of easements in favor of 7717. So there is a utility easement, a grading and drainage easement, and then an access easement so that Eversource can reach the property that's being subdivided.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm just finding in the city GIS that this 7717 is 1 acre and 1/3.
So the existing 7717 is 1.3624 acres. So essentially, there's a lot line adjustment that has gone before the planning board as part of this. So
See, that's what okay.
okay, sorry. So yes, there's
Oh.
there's a reconfiguration of the lot lines. So what Eversource will end up owning will be the smaller portion, which will be a new proposed lot 7717 with a total of just over 1/2 acre.
Okay, thank you. That was my question. And just a follow-up, couple of follow-ups, please. Where's the construction and demolition waste coming from? Both lots?
It's actually, the bulk of it is coming from the city lot.
Okay,
The only construction and demolition waste that's coming from the Eversource parcel is the concrete from the pads.
okay. And just another follow-up. I haven't seen the original contract. I know it's signed 4 years ago. But why did you agree to, I'm curious why Eversource agreed to do the cleanup on both lots. Can anyone give me any background on that?
It was just a negotiation, Alderwoman Lowe. We were told by the city that they had not budgeted any money for this project. And we were too far along to say, okay, then the deal's off. But the city had not budgeted anything for this. So we just said, we've got to roll. We had a couple of cables that failed and we need this thing rebuilt. And so we just said, we looked at the numbers, we looked at the budget, we swallowed. We went to the city and said, can you guys help us with taking some of the stuff off your property? They gave us a concession. We're going to be talking to the Public Works Board on Thursday about that. We might not take the city up on that offer, but I think it just came down to the city had not budgeted anything. And we were just going, we had been talking and we had to move. So
I
we
see.
said, we've just got to go.
I
And
see.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. And just one last question. Is this a straight swap or is there money, is there also a sales price? As I mentioned, I haven't seen um, the
Yeah.
agreement.
Eric Newman, can you talk to that? Or Walter?
Prefer that Eric weigh in on that, but as best I know, there's no remuneration other than the swap of land.
Thank you.
Moving from one parcel to the new parcel.
Thank you. That's all.
All right, thank you.
On the draw, that is correct. The purchase and sale agreement stipulates that given the respective sizes and the considerations involved on both parts in this transaction, that the total consideration is less than the 4,000, which is the threshold for transfer taxes. So both parties are in agreement that this is essentially a swap.
Thank you. I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Alderman Lou. Anything further from members of the committee? Okay, hearing or seeing none, the motion is for final passage. Alderman Laws, would you please call the roll?
Thank you, Chairman Tenza. Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez and Clemens are not present. Alderman Laws says yes. Alderman Tenza.
Yes.
We have 3 yeas and 2 not presents, Chairman.
Thank you. That motion passes. That will also be in front of the Board of Public Works on April 29th and the Mines Falls Advisory Committee on May 3rd. Okay, there's no new business ordinances, no piece of legislation have been tabled in committee. Would anybody like to make public comment at this point? Okay. Hearing and seeing none, general discussion by committee members. Again, hearing and seeing none. Remarks by Alderman? Anyone like to make any remarks? Alderman Laws.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to thank everyone from Eversource. I notice you've gotten it across loud and clear that you guys have made a lot of concessions to get this project moving, and we appreciate it, especially in the financial times that we are facing as a city. So it doesn't go unnoticed. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Okay, Alderman Laws, then I will ask you for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Chairman. I move to adjourn by roll call.
All right, it's a motion to adjourn. Would you please call the roll?
Alderman Schmidt.
Yes.
Alderman Laws says yes. Alderman Tenza.
Yes.
We've got 3 yeas.
Great. And the meeting is declared closed at 7:44 p.m. Thanks everyone for being here tonight. We appreciate it.